Let's now turn it over for the second side.
All right, family, how's everybody doing today? You guys ready to get chapel going with us this morning? Hey, I've got like 3 quick announcements for you. The first one is today is a special day. We're going to do some things in chapel. We call them church spotlights, and we have some amazing partners here in San Diego. And so you get a chance, if you haven't connected with the church, that's something we really encourage you to do. And sometimes it's hard to get out and find out who's where and what churches are there. So we've got a list of churches. Today, you get a chance to hear from Shadow Mountain Church, okay? Big church right here in El Cajon. And so this is their worship band, and they're called CM, so they do college ministry, and it happens during the week. You're going to hear more about that, and then you're going to hear from one of their teaching pastors, Scott Smith, in a minute. So just kind of know you're going to go shopping today. If you like what you see, you can find out a ton of information downstairs in the breezeway and talk to these guys, and they'll connect you, okay? It's a great church. It's where I call home, and so we just want to find ways to connect you within community, and you'll hear more about that. Hey, athletics, this weekend, I had a great weekend. I got a chance to watch men's soccer. Big second half on Friday. One of our guys had a hat trick, so big stuff there. And then I got to go to the Salvation Army and watch volleyball. I missed watching volleyball. I loved how they strategically put bleachers right by where the opposing team serves, and so I'm not sure if it's going to be soccer again out there creating a little ruckus, or maybe baseball's going to jump in, or basketball. You guys would definitely be intimidating. So anyway, there's a game Friday and Saturday for women's volleyball at the Salvation Army. Encourage you guys to go. And then also, men and women's cross country are competing in Saturday, USD Invitational. So if you see our athletes around, encourage them. Find a way to get out, support them, good stuff. I think soccer's got a little break in the weekend, and catch up a bit and go from there. So, hey, I'm going to bring up a girl in our community known as Janita. Do you guys know Janita? Come on up here, Janita. So Janita is one of our student leaders. She's an RA. She's a student connector, and for me, she is our conference girl, okay? So Janita, tell us what is happening next week.
It's a prayer conference next week, Tuesday, September 21st. There it is. Yeah. At 9 a.m. Yeah, you can see that. You can see this. And then you have all the information here.
Tell me about our speaker.
Our speaker is Gino Mingo, and he is a former, football player. He played in NFL and CFL, and he's the author of Black Belt Discipleship, and he helps people pursue Jesus into radical and transformational discipleship. So it's exciting. And then we have a worship band from Foothills Church. Cool.
So the conference starts at 9 o'clock. How does that work with my class schedule?
So we have no classes on Tuesday. And then we have some homemade snacks. So we would have 2 sessions. After the first session, we'll have a small break for snacks, and they are homemade from our faculty, which is exciting.
Let me tell you about that. We put a list out there, and over 20 staff and faculty signed up to bring snacks and treats for you guys. So that'll be between General Session 1, General Session 2. So it's going to be a great day. Don't miss it. And Janita's going to be running the show. Are you excited?
I am. Thank you.
All right. Give it up for Janita. Are you guys ready to worship? Hey, I'm going to turn it over to Nick, and you're going to lead us, huh? All right, here we go.
Hey, what's up, guys? Good morning. It's good to see you guys here. I don't know if you know, but it's been a while since we were able to do this, and we don't take it for granted that we get a chance to just come together and worship the Lord. So if we can just make this a moment where we all come together, stand to our feet, and just let everything else go. I know there's probably 18 things to do right now, but if this can be about worship, let's do it together.
Saying I have no reason to praise, I will give thanks. I will give thanks. When the roar that I feel is the voice of my fear, trying to silence this hope in my heart, I will give thanks. Oh, I will give thanks. The song of thanksgiving is my battle cry. With joy as my weapon, I stand and defy the lie of the dark with my hands lifted to the sky. I will rejoice. I will rejoice. I will dance in your kindness and claim every yes and amen. I will rejoice. crashing over every day. God of mercy, please come rescue. I am longing for your voice, gentle whispers, the noise. Father, tell me everything's alright. Your power and your presence that breaks stronger. King of heaven, when you speak, the mountains are moved. I believe there will be breakthrough. You alone can take my scars, piece by piece restore my heart. Take what's broken, it whole again. Your power and your presence that breaks stronger. King of heaven, when you speak, the mountains are moved. I believe there will be breakthrough. Shake the mountains and break the walls apart. Open the heavens, Almighty God, you are overcomer, defender of my heart. And by your power, the oceans open wide. Your fire falls down, heaven and earth collide. King Jesus, forever by my side. Shake the mountains, break the walls apart, open the heavens. Almighty God, you are overcome, defender of my heart. By your power, the oceans open wide. Your fire falls down, heaven and earth collide. King Jesus, forever by my side. Your power and your presence that breaks stronger. King of heaven, 'cause when you speak, the mountains are moved. I believe there will be breakthrough in your power. It's your presence that breaks stronger. King of heaven, 'cause when you speak, the mountains are moved. I believe there will be breakthrough. Oh,
Up SDC. I have the privilege of working at Shadow Mountain College Ministry, and if you are looking for a sick, fun place to come hang out and learn about Jesus, this is the place to do it. We have a bunch of people that already come from SDC, so you will see a lot of familiar faces. Also, we always have free food, which is sick, and I know every college student likes that. This Thursday, which is tomorrow, at 7 p.m., we have college ministry, and we are also having an ice cream truck, and all of the ice cream is on us. So come eat your body weight in ice cream. It's going to be a good time. I love CM. I hope to see you guys there. If you have any questions, you can always come talk to me or Scott, who's going to be preaching today, or any of us that you see on stage or outside. I hope to see you there. Oh, also, if you have any more questions or want to know what time or anything, you can follow us on our Instagram, and that's at Shadow Mountain College Ministry. At Shadow Mountain CM, not college ministry. I run the Instagram, so that's really awkward. But okay, here's Stasia.
Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Stasia. I have the privilege of being able to work with Shadow's middle school ministry crew. And so right now, for the Gathering crew and our South Bay campus, we are looking for small group leaders. If you have it on your heart to just support the youth that are coming up the next church, I would highly recommend coming downstairs to our little Easy Ups, and we're gonna have hostess and coffee. So I know all y'all are tired. I'm tired. Who wrote an essay last night at 12 a.m.? Me. And so if you just want to connect, we are going to be down there. It is such an amazing opportunity. Crew has changed my life, and being able to support my girls and see where that and walk them through their faith has been such an amazing thing. And so if you feel the calling to do that, I would recommend coming down and seeing us. So yeah.
That could not have been a more dysfunctional transition from like, hey, come up and speak. Oh, yeah, it's this dude. That's cool. It's also great that we pay Bronwyn to run our social media account, and she's like, what's the name again? That's awesome. We're clearly we're doing a good job there, making sure she's on point. I get paid to do this, so I got to do this because literally the people I work for told me I had to do this. So I have to hammer that again. We do have opportunities for small group leaders at our church. And yes, please come to our college ministry. Not to hear me talk, that's overrated, but the people are really, really awesome. And it's a great chance to connect. On a serious note with that, though, I could not tell you one single thing that my middle school or high school pastors ever said from stage, but I could give you the name of 3 small group leaders that I personally had who changed my life. Some are still friends to this day. So if you want to make that type of impact, if that's kind of just itching on your heart a little bit, or you're like, I don't know if I could, you probably would be better at it than you would think. And you become kind of a rock star to these students who are just looking for somebody who's at that next phase of life to kind of look up to. True story, the first student I met at San Diego Christian, no joke, the very first student I met here at SDC, his name is Mijah. He's actually right over there. He is now our youth pastor. Yeah, you can give it up for Mijah. No joke. I came to speak at a chapel, met him, first student. He's now our youth pastor at our South Bay campus down in Chula Vista. He's looking for help too. He's awesome. You should check his stuff out when you go down there as well, because him and his wife, they are literally Mr. and Mrs. Gift. They are the Gifts. That's just rad, right? Yeah, you could clap for them because that's kind of a newer thing. You could totally do that. So anyway, that's enough about that. You guys don't know who I am, and that's okay. So let's fix that real quick, because I'm about to talk from the Bible. That's what I do. I'm a professional Christian, so I get up on stage and I talk about Jesus. That's what they pay me to do. It sounds like a weird job. It is a weird job, but I love it. But a little bit about me, because if I'm you, I'm thinking, who the heck is this guy, and why should I listen to him? Yeah, I'm not that great. I'm not cool. I've had a lot of titles in life. My favorite one is dad and husband. My wife, her name is Robin. She's way, way cooler than me. Everybody likes her more than me. I used to take offense to that. Now I don't. I just think it's awesome. I'll give you some context. Last night, she went to a concert. It was Need to Breathe and Switchfoot. I'm sure some of you knew what that was. The reason she went to the Need to Breathe concert, true story, is because our friend is in the band. Like, that's who Robin is. And people ask me all the time, you know these people? No, I don't know any of these people. I married a really cool woman who knows all these rad people. She is much better looking, much smarter, and just much cooler than me. She's awesome. So she's not here today because I don't want her to steal my thunder. So, no, I'm just kidding. She's actually at Disneyland. That's how even more cool she is. Like, no, I swear to you, I can't even make this up. That is literally who she is. She's at Disneyland today because her birthday is tomorrow, so some friends took her. But you will get to meet her, actually, if you do come tomorrow night to our college ministry. She's going to be there with my two crazy kids, Hope and Silas. They're awesome. I like one more than the other. You can figure that out on your own. Which one? One of them's really sweet. She's a dancer. She does theater. The other's a human Sour Patch Kid who will talk your ear off about Pokemon and all things video games. So if you're into that, you can come hang out with my kids too. They're pretty awesome. We're going to hop them up on sugar, and I'm going to let them play with a bunch of college students so they can wear them out, and then I just put them to bed when I get home. It's a parenting lesson. Keep that one in your back pocket in the future, just for what it's worth. So that's me, and currently in life, I get the opportunity to be the college pastor at Shadow, which is pretty cool. But today, I'm going to be just kind of offering a little bit of conversation through a story that some of us will know and some of us won't know. Because let's just go ahead and lay it out. Let's just go ahead and lay it right out. For some of you, a chapel at a Christian college, let's just be real here for a minute, is a little funky. Like maybe you didn't grow up in church. Maybe this was a little bit unusual for you, but you came here for whatever reason because this is kind of the steps that God directed you in, and you're here. And so you're on this journey, and so you show up at a school like San Diego Christian College where you're told, hey, for this year, we're going to what? It's on the website, it's on the masthead, it's on everything, right? We're going to live life beyond. And you're like, I don't even know, is that like a Buzz Lightyear thing? Like, I'm not sure what that is. Like, what do I do? And maybe you're in that boat. You're like, how do I live life beyond? And let's just call a spade a spade. I say this all the time. I'm not supposed to, but I do. Oh, well. The hardest thing about following Jesus is, you ready? Following Jesus. Because you got to trust that Jesus has a way that is better than our own way. And so when we look at something like live life beyond, we kind of approach that and think, that's pretty big. I mean, that's almost like a Mount Everest size agenda for us to just say, man, I'm not really sure how to do that. But oftentimes what we forget is we get lost in this mountain of faith that we see, but we forget that mountains are climbed one step at a time. And so my objective today, my hope today, is that we would all learn what one step looks like in our lives and what the value of just one step in the direction of God's purpose for our lives can do. Because that one step in God's direction will do more than you ever thought it could. And I thought one of the greatest ways that we can do that is to obviously dive into this library of books inspired by God that we call the Bible. And there's a man, he was a medical doctor, he was a physician. Don't worry about that, I don't use notes anyway. Literally, that for real, it's just whatever. It's just me and the Bible. There's a man, his name was Luke. He was a medical doctor, and he wrote a biography of Jesus. He followed Jesus around for a few years. He wrote this book, and cleverly enough, he named it after himself, Luke, probably so he wouldn't forget what it was about or where he put it, because you didn't have the cloud back in the day, so you had to store this stuff in under rocks and stuff like that, right? So he named this biography Luke, and Luke chapter 19, you can pull it up if you want to, if you have your phone or your Bible. You don't have to, I'm going to read it anyway. But in Luke chapter 19, this man Luke writes this story about a notorious short guy named Zacchaeus. And maybe if you grew up in church, maybe you've seen VeggieTales, or maybe you come from that kind of upbringing. Maybe you know who Zacchaeus is. Maybe some of you don't. But we're going to dive into this story and listen to what Luke has to say, because this man Zacchaeus is going to have an interaction with Jesus. It's going to be one of the most crazy interactions that you didn't know you knew, or you didn't know you didn't know. Check this out. This is what he says in Luke chapter 19. This is what he says. And Jesus entered Jericho and made his way through the town. And there was a man there named Zacchaeus. He was the chief tax collector in the region, and he had become very rich. He tried to get a look at Jesus, but he was too short to see over the crowd. So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore fig tree beside the road, for Jesus was going to be passing by that way. And when Jesus came by, he looked up at Zacchaeus, and he called him by name. Zacchaeus, quick, come on down. I must be a guest in your home today. Only Jesus does that, right? Pause for just a second, because I read that, nobody batted an eye. Do you understand what Jesus just did? He just met this man for the first time and immediately invited himself over to that man's house for dinner. You're like, that's not a thing. You wouldn't do that. There's no way you would do that. If you met somebody at Target, you had to go get some cereal. You went to Target, you met somebody, hey, I'm James. Oh, hey, I'm Scott. Hey, James, great to meet you. I'm coming over to your house. I'm going to eat dinner. You're going to pay for it. I'm vegan, so you need to hook that up. I also only drink LaCroix, so you're going to need to pick up some of that too. We're in Target. It's cool. It's right over there. You get it. You prepare it. Also, just FYI, I travel with a lot of people. I've got a pretty big entourage. They follow me around everywhere. It's crazy because I do stupid stuff like that nobody's seen before, right? Like I take a Long John Silver's number 5 and I feed 5,000 people with it, right? Like I take H2O, I turn it into Merlot. It's crazy. People follow me around all the time. He's like, did he say Merlot at a Christian college? They may not invite me back. I don't know. But that would be nuts if I'm like, hey, James, I'm coming to your house. And he's like, Jesus just did that. Like, only Jesus can do that. You can't do that. You couldn't get away with that. You walk up to somebody, hey, get down out that tree. I'm going to come eat your food. Jesus like we read the Bible sometimes and we're so disassociated from it because we think it's this antiquated book that we dust off every Christmas Eve to read the Christmas story, right? And brush off all the dust and read no. The Bible is real with real people in real places with real stories. And Jesus just invited himself over to this man's house for dinner. I love that because we read that and we don't think, Jesus, we look at this. Jesus wasn't just nice, he was brilliant. Jesus was always, understand, setting up potentially awkward opportunities for impact. Some of you may think, ooh, I'm a little uncomfortable doing some of the things that God wants me to do. Jesus has always been in the business of setting up awkward moments for great impact. And he just did it here by inviting himself over to this man's house. And what does Zacchaeus do? It says Zacchaeus quickly climbed down and he took Jesus into his house in great excitement. He was excited about it. What did he say? But the people were displeased. I like this part. He has gone to be the guest of a notorious sinner, they grumbled. Some of you are like, whoa, okay. What's going on with Zacchaeus now? Because Jesus just invited himself over, and Zacchaeus is like, yes, I've been waiting all day. I've been waiting all day just to see you, and now you want to come eat my food. This is awesome. I mean, Zacchaeus had probably gone to the store. He probably had an abundance of Hot Pockets just hoping that Jesus would come over. And what happened? People said, no, Jesus has gone to hang out with that bad guy. What? I love this part, verse 8. Meanwhile, Zacchaeus stood before the Lord and said, I will give half of my wealth to the poor. Lord, if I've cheated anybody on their taxes, I'll give them back 4 times as much. Look at that word, meanwhile. Here's the word for some of us today. This has nothing to do with the rest of what I'm going to talk about, but somebody needs to hear this. Somebody needs to hear this. You want to know how to live life beyond? Take a step in your journey with Jesus? You need to understand that Jesus is often working in the meanwhile. Some of you say, well, you don't know what I've done. You don't know the choices I've made. You don't know what's been done to me. You don't know the decisions that have been made for me. You don't know what my past looks like. You don't know what I did yesterday. You don't know what I did 3 hours ago. You don't know, and God can't use that because that's too muddy. No. God can always use that. He only uses broken people because that's all he has to work with. So Jesus is always working in the meanwhile. So you may think, I don't feel equipped. I don't feel ready. I don't feel enough to move in the direction of God's purpose for my life. You need to hear this right now because everybody else was looking at Zacchaeus and thinking, what a horrible person. I can't believe Jesus would hang out with him. I can't believe Jesus would go to that man's house. He's a notorious sinner. Why would Jesus do that? And Zacchaeus was not focused at all on what anybody else was thinking, nor was Jesus. You know why? Because Zacchaeus was only focused on being with Jesus, and Jesus is always working in the meanwhile of your life. So if that's you and you needed to hear that, that's for you. But let's give some context here because something just happened that's pretty nuts. And I want you guys to understand because we read the Bible, and if we don't understand what's going on, it just washes over us. Because I read that story, and it washes over most of us. Why? Because we're not terribly familiar with what's going on. But did you pick up what Luke just did to this man, Zacchaeus? I don't know how familiar you are with the Bible or the Gospels or the New Testament, which is the second half of your Bible, but no one else is mentioned. Listen to what it said. What did he say? There was a man there named Zacchaeus. He was the chief tax collector, and the reason he had become very rich, what does he say? He tried to get a look at Jesus, but he was what? Too short. How many people in the Bible are mentioned for incredible things? Think about it. David. Ooh, that's kind of a big deal. Oh, yeah, he killed that giant with that slingshot. Like David, real big deal. Moses. I mean, Moses took people out of Egypt, right? It was, hey, Pharaoh, oh, baby, let my people go. And he wouldn't. And so he started doing some stuff. And then they broke out of there. And then he said, oh, shoot, there's a big sea in the way. What are we going to do? Moses is like, give me my stick. And they're like, I don't think that's going to do what you think it's going to do, Moses. And he's like, just watch. Kaboom. Ocean just, the sea just parted. I mean, rolled up. You don't think that. You know why you don't think that? Because it broke all the rules of science. It broke science. Moses broke science. He just, and everybody just strolled on through. And not like 20 or 30. I'm talking hundreds of thousands of people. Just boom. Right? Noah. Look at Noah. Think about it. Really think about it. Did you go to the zoo recently? You could thank Noah for that. He saved all the animals. All of them. They told him he was crazy. Saved all the animals. Like, I'm going to build a boat. We're going to fix everything. Don't worry about it. You want to go see the hippos? You want to see the hippos? Every person who's been to the San Diego Zoo owes Noah the biggest debt of gratitude. You love Noah. You know why you love Noah? You go to SeaWorld, you see Shamu. Hey, thanks, Noah. You're like, no, Shamu wasn't there. He was in the water. Yeah, that doesn't count. But you're paying attention. But look at Zacchaeus. What was Zacchaeus known for? Oh, Zacchaeus, he was short. What a burn. He said he's short and a notorious sinner. Luke is dogging this guy. He's like, this guy, horrible, horrible guy. Plus, he was short. I mean, why? You know what I mean? It's like looking at it's like your professor being like, hey, so I need to talk to you about something. Okay, what's going on? So you got an F. Oh, man. Oh, gosh. And your professor's like, but there's more we need to talk about. What? Your breath stinks. I mean, you'd be like, dude, why? But why? Like, why did you say that to me? I feel like that's what Luke is doing. He's a notorious sinner. Also, he hadn't grown since the 4th grade. Like, I mean, just burning Zacchaeus down. It's nuts. But see, we read the Bible and we don't think like that. We don't think because it's not real to us, but it was real. You need to understand something about this place, Jericho, when it said Jesus had entered Jericho. This was a city that was booming. Commerce was booming. And look, for all the biblical studies majors, right, this is where you drool over this kind of stuff, right? They were booming because they were in production of something called balsam, which, for lack of a better word, is just sap, which for you and I were like, I don't even get it. It was used in a bunch of stuff. Bottom line is they became this kind of export hub in the region. So where money was just coming in, because people here, people there, people everywhere wanted this product that was essentially kind of made in Jericho. And so money was just coming in, hand over fist. Business was booming. And I don't know if I need to tell you how the world works, but just so you know, especially in California, we get it, right? When business goes up, taxes go up, right? And so Zacchaeus was the chief tax collector, which means he was the boss of bosses. He didn't do the paperwork, right? He was over it. And I hate to spoil life for some of us in the room, but that meant that he worked for the government. So he was like Jericho IRS. So it wasn't like he was loved very much by people. He was the chief tax collector, which meant he had a government job, which meant that's typically, what do we call that? Fixed income, right? So his salary was this box. You get this much, right? Because you work for the government. But he was the chief tax collector, and what did it say? He had become very rich. Why? Do I need to tell anybody that if you look more than 2 feet in front of your face, that sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so sorry to spoil this for you. It's almost like a Santa Claus conversation, but sometimes politicians are crooked. Oh, your brain exploded. And so here we have Zacchaeus, who was rubbing shoulders with all these people, and he became very rich, probably because he found a way to manipulate the system and cheat people. So when people, in the meanwhile, grumbled because Zacchaeus was hanging out with Jesus, and they said Zacchaeus is a notorious sinner, it was this. He was known for taking advantage of people and benefiting on it. He was known for being a bad guy, not just too short, but for being a bad guy. And so what happens? Zacchaeus had become so desperate to see Jesus, because think about it. It doesn't matter who you are or how far from God you think you are, or you maybe not even realize you are. Jesus draws you in. Do you know why Jesus draws you in? And some of you are like, I don't know. Do you know why Jesus draws us in? Because Jesus made a way to you. Do you understand that? There's nothing you can do to get to God on your own. That's not how it works. Religion, every other religion on the planet will tell you you got to work your way to God. Christianity says, no, God made a way to you through the person and work and salvation of Jesus. So Jesus made a way to you, which means God knew your past before it was your past and gave everything to be in your future. So only a love like that could draw us in, because Jesus' way is always better. You know why? Psychologists rip off Jesus all the time. Self-help gurus rip off Jesus all the time. Success coaches rip off Jesus all the time. Why? God's way is always better. And so Jesus draws people in. So here's Zacchaeus, knowing that he's about as far from Jesus and as far from kind of religious righteousness as anybody ever could be. But he was just adamant about making his way to see Jesus. Why? I just said it. Jesus comes onto the scene, and what does he do? He goes to a wedding, he takes water and turns it into wine. If you did that, you would be very popular. I mean, can you imagine how many hashtag H2O to Merlot was going on Twitter? I mean, that was just nuts. Like, that's nuts. And then Jesus, what he goes, and it's like, hey, there's a lot of people here. There's like 10, 15,000 people here. They're all hungry. That kid's got some fish and chips, number 5, and he's like, bring it. And Jesus just, what? Master of molecules, right? Just feed everybody. Feed everybody. I mean, Jesus went full on Oprah. You get a sandwich. You get a sandwich. You get a sandwich on everybody. He just did that. And then Jesus, he passes this blind man. He passes a blind man, literally walks by him, hawks one in the dirt, makes mud, shoves it in his face. And he's like, dude, go take a bath. And the man comes back and could see. You don't do that and not have people want to meet you. You know how many people wanted a selfie with Jesus? Are you kidding me? So Zacchaeus, what did he want? He had to get to see him. He had to get to see him. But what does it say? What does it say? He was too short to see over the crowd. Can you imagine Zacchaeus? I'm trying to see Jesus. I'm trying to see Jesus. No, come on. I'm trying to see Jesus. Move it, kid. I can't see. He was real short. So what does he do? He goes and climbs a tree. You ever tried to climb a tree as a grown-up? Let it sink in. Exactly. You don't climb trees as a grown-up. You know why you don't climb trees? You think it's because you're too mature. It's not. You're too old. You can't. Some of you are like, I can. Do it. You can't. You know why? The older you get, the more you start to hear your body before you can see your body. That is my life. I can hear my knees before I see them when I get out of bed. Every time my kids come in, I'm in the garage working out. My son will come in. Dad, you've been in here for 20 minutes. You going to work out yet? Dude, it just takes me a little while to get started. He's just like, you're slow. I'm like, get out. Now you know which kid I like better. Because she don't do that. She says, get it, Dad. He says, Dad, you're slow. Okay. Wait till I start making you do push-ups at age 10. You'll have fun with that too, buddy. You can't climb a tree. No, you don't do that. But to understand why he was able to do that, this thing was a sycamore fig tree. Have you ever been to the park or you ever been down to the beach? You see those trees that have those big branches that are kind of close to the ground. You know what I'm talking about? That kids just kind of run on and stuff like that. It was that kind of tree. So when you think, how did this short guy climb a tree? Yeah, because it was a kid climbing tree. He climbed a kid climbing tree. Now, some of you don't relate to that, right? Because in this day and age, like my kids can't relate to what I'm about to say. But when I was my kid's age, right? Like my daughter's in middle school. When I was in middle school, we did this crazy thing as kids. It's crazy now to think about it, but we did this just out there way of thinking. And it was this thing that we called go outside and play. People don't do that anymore, right? Like my kids have a tablet. My son, until he was 5, used to walk up to our television and try to scroll it because he's so used to touchscreen everything. And I'm like, oh, bro, if there was ever a kid that needed to just go get some fresh air, just go run and yell. I don't even care if you just go yell at strangers. Just go get some fresh air, man. Like, just go do. This was a kid climbing tree. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when Zacchaeus rolls up on this thing, he's like, oh, I can make it. So he just do. You imagine this man? I mean, he didn't do this. He had people to do things for him. Zacchaeus never ordered his own coffee. Somebody else brought him his Starbucks order, and if they got it wrong, he sent them back. He was the chief tax collector. He would never have humbled himself to climb a kid's climb. Can you picture him? I mean, he just boxing out 4-year-olds to climb a tree just to see Jesus. Just to see Jesus. And what does Jesus do? What does Jesus do? Zacchaeus, come on down. Let's go eat some dinner. On you. And look at what meeting Jesus did to this notorious sinner. What does it say? Zacchaeus took Jesus into his house in great excitement. But the people were displeased he's gone to be. But meanwhile, listen, Zacchaeus stood before the Lord and said, if I will give half of my wealth to the poor, and if I've cheated anybody, I'll give him 4 times. Do not let this newly adopted generosity of Zacchaeus wash over you. Do you have any idea how many lives would be changed if someone of that wealth and that stature met Jesus and said, I'm going to give half of everything to the poor. And on top of that, anyone I've cheated, I'm going to give them their money back times 4. The amount of lives that would have been changed because of Zacchaeus' one interaction with Jesus cannot be overstated. You know why? Jesus changes everything. Because Jesus changes you. You want to see what life looks like to live it beyond? You want to see life look the way you want it to see? It starts right here with you. Why does Jesus change everything? Because Jesus changes us from the inside out. He met Jesus, and it changed his life and the lives of so many more. Why? When people follow Jesus, people see Jesus in the lives of those following Jesus. So when you choose to take that step in the direction of God's purpose for your life, God does what only God can do in your life and gives you purpose, significance, value, grace, love, security, all of these things. Consider Zacchaeus had spent his whole adult life scrounging for $1, scrounging for another dollar, scrounging for clout, scrounging for this, just looking for this, hungry for this, thirsty for this. And what? For what? He meets Jesus and he's just like, I get it now. I get it now. Satisfaction and success in life will never be found in stuff. It'll only be found in Jesus. So what did he do? He said, I'm here. Take it. Take it because your way is better. So the question for everybody, right, that we have to look, and we look at a story like Zacchaeus and we think, how do I live life beyond? How do I climb this Mount Everest this year? You don't know where I came from. You don't know what I've done. You don't know my story. God does. He's writing it. Maybe he has you on this path. And maybe today it's just to understand this. Look at what Zacchaeus did. He climbed a tree. He climbed a tree. Something so simple. A kid climbing a tree. Do you know how high off the ground that is? This. Dink. That. I'm going to do that again so you can all take a mental picture of this. Dink. That. Maybe that is what God is asking you to do. Maybe that is what God is bringing into your view today. Maybe this week it's, okay, I'm going to take a step in the direction of God's purpose for my life. Because here's the truth. He already made a way to you, so he's just waiting for you to climb that tree. But the tree climbing adventure is not as daunting as you may think. It's a kid climbing tree. It's one step at a time. And that one little step might change the course of your life. It might change the way you move. It might change the way you think. It will change the way you make decisions. It will change the way you treat people. It will change the way you build relationships with others. It will change the way you view life and journey through life. Why? Because when we meet Jesus, he changes everything. It was about 100 years ago. There was a man, you know him. His name is Walt Disney. And Walt Disney, about 100 years ago, had created a cartoon. It's not the one you're thinking, so chill out. He created a cartoon. He built this company and was so excited to see it take off. And it did what so many other small businesses do, and it failed. A lot of people don't know that story, that Walt Disney was a big failure before he was a big success, right? And so he made this cartoon character. He built it up. The company failed. It went bankrupt. And he said, I don't know what to do. I'm going to kind of cash it in and just see what happens. I think I need to go out to L.A. because I think California is the place for us to launch a new thing. But I don't know what that new thing is. But I just know I got to go do something. I got to go do something because I just lost everything and I'm starting from scratch. And so he takes this train and he's traveling home. And on this train, he starts doodling, right? Like only Walt Disney could do. You could picture Mr. Disney just sitting there, doodling on a napkin, right? Just kind of messing with his thing. And he came home and he met with his wife and his business partner. His business partner, his name was Ub. That was his partner in crime, Ub. You're like, no, it's not. Ub. Look it up. U-B. Ub. You don't know anybody named Ub. You wish you did, because that's awesome. I would take Ub everywhere. You know why I would take Ub everywhere? Because if you go to a restaurant and they're like, how many? 2. What's the name? Ub. Just to mess with the hostess. They'd be like, are you messing with me? Show her. Show her your ID right now. Ub, California, real ID. Read them and weep, right? That was his name, Ub. So what? That has nothing to do with anything. That's just me geeking out because I have ADD. So Walt comes up with this new sketch. He's on the train. He's just fuming. He's reeling. His company is bankrupt. He feels lost. Comes up with this new sketch. Comes home and tells his wife, he says, I want to show you something because I think it's going to change everything. And, of course, I don't know if you know how, like, husbands and wives work. But sometimes if I come up with an idea that I present to Robin, and I present it like, babe, this is what we need to do. I can already hear her saying, dumb. Like, before the D has formed on her mouth, it's already, that's ridiculous. That's how it works, right? Again, it's just a taste of what's to come in your marriage when you get married one day. So he comes home, and he meets with her. He said, I want to show you this. I want to show you this. I got a new cartoon, and I want you to see this. And he shows her a piece of paper with this drawing of a mouse. And he says, look, Ub, look at that mouse. Ub, look at that mouse, Ub. He tells his wife, look at it, look at it, look at it. You know what I'm going to do with this mouse? I'm going to make the happiest place on earth with this mouse. I'm going to build Monsters University with this mouse. I'm going to find Dory with this mouse. I'm going to charge people $15.50 for a churro from this mouse. This is what's going to happen with this mouse. Look at it, look at it. Do you know what this mouse's name is? They're like, what? Bring it. And the client says, he said, this mouse will be called Mortimer. And they were like, that's dumb. His wife looked at him and was just like, really? Mortimer? Can you picture the conversation? He comes home, he's so excited. From bankruptcy to, oh my goodness. You do not know what's going to happen as a result of this mouse. Lightning McQueen will win the Piston Cup because of this mouse. Mortimer Mouse, You don't know. And she's like, I really don't like that name. He's like, you don't know. I got big plans. Why do you have to do that? Don't burst my bubble. The balloons are on the house. Call me Carl. It's floating away. I'm going. I got my grape soda pen. Why are you popping the balloons? Don't do this. Mortimer Mouse. And she's like, I don't like that. And Ub's like, what she said. He says, well, fine. What would you do? That's a real marriage conversation. I've had those. Babe, I got this idea. Let's do this. But there have been times I have literally, this is a true story. A couple years ago, I love Christmas. I'm a big Christmas dork. We start celebrating on Halloween. I'm going to tell you right now, that's just how it is. You may disagree. That's okay. You can be wrong. We celebrate on Halloween. We started, big Christmas dork. So one year, I put together every single Christmas movie that we had in our collection. DVD, iTunes, didn't matter what it was. Ones that are super obscure that you can only find on like weird places on Amazon Prime. Like I found all of it. And I put a spreadsheet. I hate spreadsheets. I don't do this. I pay people to do this. I hate it. I don't like it. I put together an entire spreadsheet, and it was a calendar of 2 months worth of, here's our countdown to Christmas. You're like, that's a bit much. Yep. My wife has to put up with a lot. That's why she gets to go to Disneyland. Thank you. And I put all of it down. She looked at it and she said, you will not stick to this. You are too impatient. This is ridiculous. And I was like, fine. What would you do? She goes, I would just watch Christmas movies when I felt like it, like a normal person, not a psycho. And I was like, ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas. Scrooge. She was right. I got 3 days in and I abandoned the list. And so, that's just how it worked. Can you imagine that conversation? And she's like, finally he gets to the point. What would you do? What would you do, Lillian? Tell me. Your dad always said I wouldn't amount to nothing. What would he say? What would you do? I don't know. Tell me. You got something to say? Staying out of it. Don't get involved in marital bliss, right? I ain't doing it. She's like, okay, but here's just a thought. Mortimer, that stinks. I have an idea. What if you called it Mickey? You could picture Walt. There's smoke coming out his ears. I can't believe they don't like this. I can't believe they don't like Mortimer. I don't know. He's over there talking to himself. You ever been around somebody like that? It's really awkward. They're mad at themselves. I can't do this, man. I played football when I was in school, and there was always a guy in our locker room, always before every game. I don't think he said actual words, but no one wanted to get near him. You could just see him over there, just. What was crazy is he was the kicker, and you were like, dude, what? You don't need to get that height, dude. You're gonna kick the ball, maybe, because we go for two a lot, and you just. You could just see Walt just over there. They don't like this. Maybe it should be called Mickey. And he was like, you know what? That ain't half bad. Now that mouse is the most expensive rodent in the world. Why? A little adjustment. Just a little one. Just a little step in a different direction. He just changed some letters around. Went from 3 syllables to 2. Just minor changes. What did Zacchaeus do? He wanted to meet Jesus. There were so many hurdles in his way. What would people say about him? What would it look like for somebody of that stature to climb a tree? What would it look like for somebody of that stature to be so desperate to see this new Jesus? What would it look like? What did he do? He just climbed a tree. What tree are you going to climb this year? What little change is going to take the Mortimers in your life and make it a Mickey? What shift are you going to choose this year to move in God's direction? Because when you meet Jesus, he changes everything. And it's not necessarily overnight, but in that journey, it allows us to trust him and know that his way is always better. Are you tracking with that? So what tree are you going to climb this year? That's the word for everybody. I'm going to pray for you. They're going to sing some more songs. And again, because they made me say this, on your way down, come hang out with some people. Meet some people. Maybe that tree for you to climb is to invest in the next generation. Hang out with my buddy Mijah, hang out with our middle school and high school teams. Maybe find somebody to pour yourself out and watch God do something incredible in your life. But I got the mic, so I'm going to pray for you. Also, we got to do a much better transition than the one before the message. So if I pray, it's going to sound extra spiritual before they set up to sing again. And that's what you're like, dude, are you just saying it? Yeah, we're just saying it. Just pulling the curtain back. That's how churches work, in case you didn't know. So we do bumper videos and slides, and somebody like me says something. Usually at the end of the message, somebody like Chase comes up, plays the keys, so it sounds extra spiritual, right? Because it's just like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, notice we got like smoke machines back there and everything. We're just ushering in the Spirit, right? You're like, did he just, yep. I'm just telling you like it is. That's just how it is. See? You all felt it. Life's too short not to be honest about it, and that's why I'm honest with you about it. Because I'll be real. When I was at this phase of life, it was actually in college, I had run as far away from God as I possibly could. And I remember where I was, I remember what it felt like, and it was just one shift. It was one shift. And you know what it was? I ran into a buddy of mine when I was out at a restaurant. I was out at a bar, actually, doing things I probably shouldn't have been doing. And my buddy, I ran into him, and we had known each other for years. And he was following Jesus, and I was not. And he just looked at me and said, hey, man, how you doing? And I was just like, great. You know how you're like so embarrassed? You're like, I didn't want to see you here. He looked at me and goes, hey, man, we're going on a trip next week. You want to come with us? And I was like, dude, I don't know that I really do that kind of stuff anymore, like going to churches and stuff. He was like, oh, don't worry about it, man. Just come hang out. I was like, okay, sure, I'll go. No joke. Went on that trip. Met a guy named Dave. Dave would eventually become my roommate in college, and he would eventually introduce me to a girl named Robin, who I've been married to for 16 years. I got 2 kids with. Robin's from San Diego. She's the reason that I'm in San Diego. And the reason that I'm literally standing on this stage looking at you, talking about Jesus, is because I made a little shift to move in God's direction. Just a little one. So to understand how a professional Christian gets to a point like this, I just climbed a tree. A really short one. So what tree are you going to climb? What tree are you going to climb to get to Jesus this year? Because he's just waiting. He's just waiting to call you down out the tree and come to your house for dinner. So what tree are you going to climb? Let's pray. God, thank you again for this day. It's a gift. It's a gift, and we need to stop and acknowledge that too. So God, thank you for your word. We don't know where to go without it. We don't have a light without it. We don't have a compass without it. We don't have a foundation without it. We don't have purpose without it. Because your word tells us why. Your word tells us your love and your plan for our lives. So God, I pray for everybody in this room, or even those maybe watching online, that you would give them the wisdom and the courage to climb that tree in whatever step it would be in their lives this week. And that you would show them how you work in our lives when we move in your direction. So in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Go ahead and stand with us. We're going to close out this morning in another worship song. Jesus is in this room, here right now, making this place I stand holy ground, holy ground. Your spirit moves and breathes all around, all good and perfect
doors fling wide of glory as I run inside the throne. Before you, I bow. The veil is torn, the doors fling wide. Glory as I run inside the throne. Before you, I bow. The veil is torn, the doors fling wide. See glory as I run inside the throne. Before you, I bow. The veil is torn, the doors fling wide. I see glory as I run inside the throne room. Before you, I bow. Holy, 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 Lord. God Almighty, you were, you are, and you'll be forever the King enthroned in glorious splendor. Holy, holy Lord. God Almighty, over all. You were, you are, and you'll be forever the King enthroned in glorious splendor. You were, you are, and you'll be forever the King enthroned in glorious splendor. Holy, holy Amen. Thank you so much for worshiping with us this morning. We want to invite you again to come join us downstairs. We've got coffee and some snacks for you guys. And if you're looking for community service hours, we'd love to get you connected. Thanks.
My fears are dry.